Have you ever felt like something sacred is silently watching you? Not with judgment, but with a deep tenderness, almost impossible to describe in words. As if someone from above still believes in you, even when you yourself have stopped doing so. That soft but powerful sensation, which sometimes visits us at dawn or in moments of greatest loneliness, could be the answer to a spiritual reality that the modern world has wanted to forget. Mary, the mother of Jesus, continues to cry for us. This is not a poetic metaphor or a simple religious tradition. It is something that has been recorded with physical tears, in images of the Virgin that have cried in different parts of the world, places that, without human explanation, became living altars of heavenly pain, tears that were not shed out of despair but out of love, for a love so immense that it transcends logic and penetrates the most intimate fibers of the soul. But why does Maria cry? What is he trying to tell us with his silence that turns into crying? This introduction is an urgent call to look with the heart, to stop the everyday noise and tune in to that divine frequency that only the soul hungry for truth can hear. In times where everything seems to run faster, where heaven seems distant and faith becomes an optional accessory, Mary appears again as a mother, not to accuse us, not to point out, but to remind us that heaven exists and that there is a place reserved there for you. Sometimes we spend so much time pursuing earthly goals that we forget the essential thing. We were created for eternity. And even if we distance ourselves, even if our life is full of errors, indifference, or even anger against the sacred, Mary's heart does not close. She remains standing as on the cross, silently interceding for each child who has forgotten the way back home. Your tears are not weakness. They are strength in its purest form. They are prayer converted into a visible sign. They are heaven's way of shouting without words that there is still time, that you can still come back, that although you have forgotten heaven, heaven has not forgotten you. If up to this point you felt that something inside you moved, I invite you to do two things. First, subscribe to this channel, because here you will find messages that are not coincidence, but answers. And second, write in the comments, "Mary, don't forget me. Help me remember heaven." Your words can be the first step back to the eternal. Now take a deep breath and allow yourself to continue listening, because this story does not end with tears. Start with them. In recent years, Mary's tears have been seen by thousands of people, in small chapels, in humble homes, in places unknown to the rest of the world. But who dares to really ask what they mean? Who stops long enough to look beyond the phenomenon and hear the hidden message? Those tears are perhaps the most maternal and compassionate voice that the world can receive at this time. A time when violence, spiritual confusion and hopelessness seem to be gaining ground. Maria does not remain motionless. She comes down, manifests herself, touches, intercedes, and cries, because there is still a lot to save, because there are still children who have not opened their eyes, because there are still hearts that have not felt how much God loves them. This message does not come to you by chance. If you are reading these words, it is because a seed of eternity is still alive within you, even if you have hidden it, even if you think you no longer have faith. Maria is looking for you, and not to push you, but to hug you, to dry your tears with his, to remind you that the pain you carry is not useless. That loneliness you feel is not definitive, that you can still come back. Imagine for a moment that you are in front of an image of the Virgin. Her eyes slowly lower, and a tear runs down her cheek. You can't help but feel a lump in your throat, because you know deep down that that tear is also for you, because somewhere, at some point, your soul has also forgotten to look at heaven. She doesn't demand perfection, just ask for opening. He only longs for you to look up and say, "Mother, help me come back." And so, step by step, tear after tear, the way back becomes possible. For centuries, the figure of the Virgin Mary has been a source of comfort for millions of wounded hearts. From the first centuries of Christianity to the present day, its presence has crossed cultures, languages, and continents, always silently accompanying the darkest moments of humanity. However, in recent decades, something extraordinary has started to happen more frequently, something that cannot be easily ignored or explained. Images of the Virgin have begun to cry, and those tears, more than drops, are whispers from heaven that try to awaken what the modern world has tried to silence, the urgent need to return to God. These demonstrations have not occurred in places chosen at random. In Naju, South Korea, a small community witnessed tears streaming down from a statue of Mary as worshippers prayed fervently. Eyewitnesses, scientists, and believers alike were perplexed by the inexplicable. It wasn't running water. It wasn't condensation. They were human tears, real, physical. And it wasn't a single isolated event. The same thing happened in Civitavecchia, Italy, where an image brought from Medjugorje began to cry blood before the eyes of a simple family. The phenomenon was recorded, documented, and even analyzed by the Vatican. Tears of blood touched the conscience of an entire nation. And more recently, in Recife, Brazil, the faithful watched in amazement as another image shed visible tears, as if the same pain of the world had reached Mary's maternal face. But what are these tears really telling us? What do they mean in a time like ours, where science dominates the explanation of almost everything, and faith is considered by many as a simple emotional resource? Mary's tears are not a spectacle. They are not phenomena to feed superficial curiosity. They are silent screams that come from the heart of a mother who cannot bear to see her children moving away from the Father. They are alerts, coated with tenderness. They are messages that do not seek to instill fear, but rather to ignite a love that many have let go out. We live in a time where distraction is the currency, where fast news, social networks, and the constant need for entertainment have taken the place that previously belonged to meditation, prayer, inner silence. In the midst of this deafening noise, Maria cries. He cries not because he ignores our reality, but precisely because he knows it deeply. He knows how many hearts are broken. He knows how many families are divided. He knows how many souls walk lost, empty, forgotten about the eternal. And instead of condemning, he approaches with tears. Because a mother doesn't scream, she doesn't impose, she doesn't take revenge. A mother just cries, and in his crying he lets out all the love that has not been received. These tears remind us of something we may have tried to forget. Heaven is not that far away. The spiritual world is not a fantasy. It exists, and it is more present than we believe. And when an image cries, it is not the sculpture that suffers, but heaven that manifests itself through it. It is as if the invisible wanted to touch the visible, as if eternal love sought to make its way through our hardness, our fears, our indifferences. Every tear shed by Mary is an opportunity to reflect. Where are we putting our hearts? What have we done with our faith? Who are we following? In a world where opinions change every minute and certainties seem to crumble, Mary's tears are a constant, a soft but firm voice that reminds us that we are not alone, that there is a greater plan, that there is a truth that does not change, that we still have time. They are not tears to impress, they are tears to wake up, to touch the deepest part of us, to move from indifference to love, to get us out of the spiritual lethargy into which many have fallen without even noticing it. They are a bridge between heaven and earth, a whisper from the soul of a mother who never tires of interceding, who doesn't get tired of waiting, who never tires of believing in the possibility of our conversion. In the face of these manifestations, the invitation is not to sensationalism, but to reflection. It is not about fascination, but about commitment. It is not fear, but love. Every tear has a message, and that message cannot be ignored. Return to the heart of my son, because in that heart wounded by love, there is still room for you. There is still forgiveness. There is still redemption. These tears also teach us that Mary is not indifferent to the suffering of the world, that is not absent in wars, in illnesses, in spiritual misery. It is present. Observe, intercede, accompany, cry with those who cry. And in doing so, he offers us a mirror. It shows us that pain can become prayer, that crying can also be a seed of hope, that there is no useless tear when it is offered with faith. And you who are reading this now perhaps have felt disconnected from heaven. Maybe it's been a long time since you talked to God, that you don't pray, that you don't believe, that you don't feel. But if you have come this far today, it is because those tears are also for you, not to judge you, but to invite you, not to remind you of your guilt, but of your worth, because every soul is worth the blood of Christ. And Mary, who was at the foot of the cross, knows this better than anyone. The tears of the Virgin are also a promise that there is still time, that you can still start again, that no matter how far you've gone, there will always be a way back. And that path begins with a simple gesture, opening your heart. Let those tears not go unnoticed. Allow them to talk to you. Let them call you. May they wake you up. Do you think these tears have a message for you too? Write in the comments, "Mother, your tears touched my soul." Your testimony can be the beginning of a new path for someone else. In a world that runs without looking back, where screens distract us, voices overlap, and the soul remains in the background, there is a whisper that cuts through the noise. It does not come from the earth or from men. It comes from heaven, and it sounds like a lament. It is the cry of a mother who has not given up. The Virgin Mary, in different approved appearances and in messages that have moved entire nations, has cried. Real tears. Tears that have flowed from images, sculptures, icons. Tears that science has not been able to fully explain, but that the soul does understand. Because those tears are nothing more than a heavenly language. Every drop is a plea. Each tear contains a warning, but also a deep longing for salvation. Mary said it in a revelation that has touched countless hearts. I cry for those who forget heaven, for those who are distracted by the world and distance themselves from eternity. He doesn't cry for her. Cry for you. Cry for me. Weep for those who run after fading success, for those who chase momentary pleasures and forget the true joy that has no end. Cry for those who have hardened their hearts, for those who turned away from prayer, for those who see faith as a burden and not as a refuge. In those tears, there is more love than we can understand. They are not punishment, they are not condemnation, they are warnings full of tenderness. Silent reminders that heaven is real and still waiting for you. Those tears have appeared in different corners of the world: Naju in South Korea, Civitavecchia in Italy, Syracuse in Sicily, and even in Recife, Brazil. In each of these places, the Virgin has manifested herself with a clear message: convert, pray, return to my Son. And why is Mary crying? Because he sees the future with the eyes of heaven. He sees the wounded soul of his children before we ourselves recognize our need for healing. He sees the spiritual coldness that has spread like a shadow in hearts. See how humanity plays with spiritual fire, despising the sacraments, ridiculing the sacred, and promoting paths that lead to perdition. Mary does not judge, appeal. It does not impose. Calls, and his call comes wrapped in tears. After so many centuries, there are still those who wonder if these manifestations are real, but the soul that seeks feels, and many witnesses have felt. They have seen, they have believed, because the heart recognizes the voice of its mother, even in the silence of her crying. When Mary cries, the sky tilts, and when the sky tilts, it is because the earth has forgotten to look up. Isn't this the time to stop and ask, what is he trying to tell us? It is not just an emotion or phenomenon. It is intercession. It is a plea from a mother who cannot force but can pray, a mother who respects our freedom but who never tires of waiting for us. In a time where pain hides behind edited smiles, where anxiety and loneliness are silent epidemics, Maria appears crying, not to condemn but to console, not to scare but to wake up. His crying is an echo of the times when we ourselves have cried in loneliness, in the nights without an answer, in the losses that we cannot understand. Mary cries with us and for us. She knows what it is to suffer. He knows what it's like to lose a child. He knows what it's like to see love be rejected. That's why his cry is so pure, because it is not a cry of despair, but of love that overflows. And here, at this moment when you hear these words, perhaps there is also a tear inside you. Don't deny yourself, don't repress it, because perhaps that tear of yours will join Mary's. And in that silent union, something changes. The heart opens. The hardness is broken, and the soul rises again. If Mary cries today, it is not because all is lost. It's because there is still hope. It's because you can still come back. Because there is still time to change course, to return to the rosary, to return to the Eucharist, to speak with God like a child who recognizes that he has moved away, but who knows that he can always return home. Have you felt lately that something is missing, even though you apparently have everything? Have you ever wondered why you feel a void in your soul that nothing fills? It may be that you have forgotten to look towards heaven. It may be that the voice of the world has been louder than the voice of God. But today, through Mary's tears, heaven is speaking to you again. Don't ignore it. Don't continue as if nothing had happened. A mother's tears are never useless. They always announce something. And this time, they announce that you can still wake up. If these words touched your heart, leave your comment saying, "Mother, I don't want to forget heaven. Take me back." We want to read your testimony and pray with you. In your comments, please also write someone's name so that you would like Maria to intercede. Your part can reach a heart that now is without force. In a world that spins faster and faster, where the days slip away like sand between the fingers, it is easy to lose sight of what is essential. We wake up with to-do lists. We run back and forth between commitments, goals, expectations, and urgencies. But in the midst of this frenetic race, a question arises that cuts the soul like a sword. Where is your gaze today? Many no longer look up. Earthly concerns, the weight of responsibilities, and the constant noise of society have silenced the inner voice that one day whispered to us about eternity. We live as if everything ends here, as if this earthly life were the final destination. However, there is a persistent whisper, full of tenderness and truth, that continues to repeat, "Do not forget heaven." After the first 2,000 characters, I invite you to leave your like if this message is touching your heart. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do so now to receive more messages that awaken the soul and bring us closer to the love of God. Also, write in the comments, "Today I lift my gaze to heaven," and join this community of faith. Mary, the mother who never tires of waiting, has been clear in her messages. She does not come with words of condemnation, but with calls of love that cross the ages. "My children, return your gaze to my Son," he has said in various appearances throughout history. Their tears are not symbols of hopelessness, but silent calls to wake up. Because when a mother cries, it is because her heart loves intensely, and Mary cries not because there is no hope, but because many have forgotten that there is an eternal destiny. In the depths of our days, how many times do we remember that we were created for more than just survival? How many times do we feel the nostalgia for the divine, that longing that no wealth, no achievement or pleasure can completely fill? The human soul thirsts for something more. He hungers for eternity. But when the gaze is fixed on the ephemeral, the heart begins to dry up inside. Today's society pushes us to look down, towards the earth, towards what we can possess, conquer, or consume. But in that look towards the material, the shine of the sacred is lost, and that is where Mary comes in, again and again, to remind us that there is still time, that we can still return, that the mercy of his Son is always open to those who decide to look towards him with sincerity. There is a truth that many ignore. Heaven is not just a future destination, but a living promise that transforms our way of living in the present. Whoever remembers heaven walks on earth with another perspective. He who dreams of eternity lives with purpose, with hope, with his eyes fixed on what remains. Mary calls us to be that type of people, people who, even suffering, do not lose faith. That, even tired, they continue to believe. That, even wounded, they do not let go of the hand of God. Maybe today you are crossing a desert. Maybe your gaze has been lost between sadness, discouragement, or routine. But Maria does not accuse you. She approaches, like a mother searching for her lost child, and whispers to you in a soft voice, "Lift your gaze." It doesn't ask you to have all the answers. It only asks you to look at heaven again, because from there comes the peace that the world cannot give. From there flows light that can illuminate even the darkest night. Remembering heaven does not mean despising life on earth. On the contrary, it means living deeply with gratitude and with the awareness that each day is an opportunity to love more, forgive more, sow more hope. He who looks up learns to see with the eyes of the heart, learn to discover God in everyday life, learn to wait even when all seems lost. There is a spiritual urgency in our times, not an urgency of fear, but of awakening. And in that awakening, the gaze plays a key role, because where we put our eyes, there our hearts also go. If we look only at the pain, at the chaos, at the failure, it will be difficult to get up. But if we look back at eternal love, we will discover that we have never been alone. Maria knows human struggles well. She is not a distant or inaccessible figure. She is a mother, and as such, she understands every tear, every confusion, every fall. That is why his invitation is so powerful. Look at my son. See him on the cross. See him in the Eucharist. See him in the brother who suffers. There is the hope that does not die. And you, where is your gaze today? Leave your answer in the comments. Your testimony can inspire others to also turn their gaze to heaven. There are times when the soul gets tired. The noise of the world, the wounds of life, the accumulated disappointments, everything seems to distance our hearts from the tenderness of God. We become colder, more distrustful, more distracted. And without realizing it, we spend days, weeks, even months without looking at heaven. Not because we have lost faith, but because we have lost the inner rhythm, that frequency in which the soul aligns with the voice of the Creator. It's like a forgotten melody we used to sing as children, but now lies dormant beneath layers of worry. Therefore, today, I invite you to an intimate moment, to a simple but profound act, a guided prayer to reconnect with the heart of God. Breathe deeply. Find a quiet place where no one will interrupt you. If you can, light a candle. It is not a ritual, it is not an obligation, it's just a symbol. A lit flame that represents your desire to feel again, to listen again, to love again. And as the light rises, may your heart rise too. This sentence is a whisper. It doesn't need shouting or fancy words, just presence, only truth, delivery only. Mother of tears, you who cry for those who have forgotten heaven, you who know every corner of our pain, come walk with us today. In this prayer, take our hand, clean our wounds, and with your tenderness, teach us to return to the heart of your Son, because we know that you do not retain for yourself what you receive from heaven. You share it, you deliver it, you multiply it into silent blessings that transform darkness into light. Lord, here I am. I come with my doubts, my fears, my mistakes. I come without knowing how to pray well, but with the desire to learn. I come with a heart full of silences, of words I never said, of tears I never showed, and I give you all that. Because if you are the God of life, you also know how to rebuild what is broken, how to heal what no one sees anymore, how to speak where others are silent. Lord, I don't want great miracles. I want your presence. I don't want perfect answers. I want your company on the road. Maybe you haven't talked to God in a long time. Maybe you feel like your voice won't reach heaven. But do you know something? Prayer does not always need to be perfect. Sometimes a single tear shed in silence says more than 1,000 words. And if today your soul no longer knows what to say, let this prayer be your starting point. You don't need to understand everything. Just open up. Just surrender. Just trust. Mother of tears, I do not want to continue running away from myself. There are parts of my history that still hurt me, memories that visit me without warning, failures that follow me like shadows. But today I want to leave them in your hands. Not to forget them, but so that you teach me to look at them with mercy. Teach me to see my past as a path to love, as a route that, although bumpy, has brought me here. And if I am here, in front of this lit candle, it is because there is still hope. This reunion with the heart of God is not a spectacular event. It doesn't have fireworks. It is a soft breeze that touches your interior. It is a tenderness that does not judge. It is a hug that demands nothing in return. Right now, allow your soul to breathe. Allow your guilt to release. May your fears dissolve. May your heart feel again. Because God does not expect perfection. He expects sincerity. Wait for a willing heart. Wait for your voice, although trembling, although insecure, although broken. Jesus, you who did not turn away from sinners, you who walked among the rejected, you who stopped to talk to the forgotten, come to my house. Not the one of bricks, the one of my soul. Come and sit with me, listen to my stories, my pains, my silences, and if you can, stay a little longer, because it's been a long time since anyone looked at me like that. It's been a long time since anyone listened to me without interrupting me. It's been a long time since I felt seen. Maybe now, as you read these words, you feel something stirring inside. Don't ignore it. That small inner tremor can be the beginning of a new stage, a whisper from God that tells you, I have not forgotten you, I never have. Because that's how He is. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't walk away. He doesn't give up on you. You may have lost your way, but He never stopped looking for you. And you, do you feel it? Can you perceive that invisible hug, that peace that you can't explain, but that begins to envelop everything? Stay a little longer. Don't be in a hurry. Don't rush to the next commitment. This moment can change your life. This silence can be the echo of God calling you by name. And if you still don't know how to respond, just repeat in the depths of your being, Here I am, Lord. Here I am, Mary. I don't know where I'm going, but I want to go with you. After 2,000 characters, I want to invite you to take a moment to support this space. If this prayer has touched your heart, like the video and subscribe to the channel. This way you help us bring these words to more hearts in need. Also write in the comments, return to the heart of God. Your testimony can be light for others. And now, before ending this sacred moment, do one last thing. Close your eyes and let these words become prayer in you. Make them yours. Let them speak for your soul. Don't do it out of obligation. Do it because something in you is reawakening, because the flame is lit, because Mary, the mother of tears, has looked at you, because the heart of God has opened again for you. And you? Have you felt that inner spark? Tell us in the comments. What word touched your soul today? There are moments when the soul seems to not take it anymore, moments when the silence of God resonates louder than any noise in the world, moments in which tears become a constant company, and the heart wonders if anyone from heaven is paying attention. And it is precisely in those dark spaces where Mary's light can begin to shine differently. Not as an immediate solution or a magic wand that erases suffering, but as a maternal presence that transforms pain into a path a process, a bridge to something greater. Mary does not ignore our wounds. She is not a distant figure in a church display case. She is mother. And like any true mother, she does not stay still when she sees her children suffer. She approaches, takes our tears in her hands, caresses them tenderly, and presents them before God as a living offering. Nothing is lost. Every drop of sadness, every sleepless night, every prayer murmured amid tears echoes in his heart, because Maria knows what pain is. She cried too. She cried when she saw her son nailed to the cross. He cried silently as he heard her last breath. And that same pain that tore her inside, she turned into faith. That is the strength of Mary. He does not deny suffering, but he does not surrender to it either. It embraces it, transforms it, and elevates it. And he wants to do the same with each of us. Sometimes we think that faith is the absence of problems, when in reality it is learning to walk through them without losing hope. Maria does not promise that from today everything will be easy. What she promises, if we let her act, is that pain will not have the last word, that our tears will not be in vain, that what weighs so much today can be converted into an impetus for a new beginning. In each Marian apparition throughout history, there is a constant that is repeated, the invitation to trust, to turn one's heart to God, to not lose hope. Mary does not come to impose fear. It comes to light the flame that still burns weakly inside. It comes to remember that we are loved, that we are not alone, and that even on the grayest days, there is a light that can still guide us. That light is not always outside. Many times, it is born from within when we decide to believe that pain has a purpose, that the cross is not the end, but rather the passage to the resurrection. There are people who, in the midst of their pain, decided to pray with a broken heart. And in that sincere prayer, something began to change. Not right away, not magically, but yes, deeply. Because when we invite Mary in our sadness, she not only consoles, she works, she intercedes, she cares. And while it seems like nothing is happening, many times everything is being reconstructed from the invisible. The doors that were closed begin to move. Wounds that seemed impossible to heal begin to heal. The answers that did not come begin to take the form of inner peace. That is Mary's silent promise, I will not abandon you. And although the world continues to spin with its chaos, his voice remains the same that echoed in Cana. Do whatever he tells you. Because she knows that the miracle does not depend on how strong your faith is, but on how much you are willing to open your heart. Maria doesn't need you to be perfect. He just needs you to be honest. May you tell him from deep within, I'm tired, but I want to continue. I don't understand everything, but I trust. I don't see a way out, but I surrender. And from there, she begins to act. Pain often locks us in ourselves. It makes us look only inward, towards the suffering, towards what we lack. But Mary lifts our gaze. It invites us to look at heaven, not as an escape, but as a direction. It reminds us that there is something more, that this earth is not everything, and that our final destiny is not suffering, but glory. That hope is not an illusion, it's a promise. And when Mary whispers it to our soul, something begins to change, even though on the outside everything seems the same. Maybe you are reading this at a time of fatigue. Maybe tonight you cried without anyone knowing. Maybe you feel forgotten or even guilty for feeling this way. But today Mary wants to approach you, not to reprimand you, but to remind you of who you are. You are a beloved son, you are beautiful daughter, and although the world has been hard on you, heaven has not let you go. Mary continues standing next to your cross, as she stood next to the cross of Jesus. It doesn't rush you. He doesn't judge you. He just hugs you. And in that hug, it reminds you that your story is not over yet. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. It doesn't matter if you are full of doubts, fear, or anger. Maria can transform all that into a bridge. Yes, on a bridge. because what weighs you down today may be what lifts you up tomorrow. What seems like a ruin today can be the foundation of something new. And what you see today as loneliness can become the sacred space where God speaks to your heart. But you need to take a step, a single step, the step of opening your soul to Mary and saying, "Here I am. I don't know how to continue, but I don't want to do it alone." And when you do that, everything starts moving, not always outside, but inside. The transformation begins within. Maria does not come to change circumstances all at once. It comes to change you so that you face circumstances with a new faith. And that faith, even small, is enough, because a faith sown in tears has deep roots, and even if the wind shakes it, it will not be uprooted. Mary knows every corner of your soul. He knows what you went through. And you don't need many words to start working. She just needs you to let her in. Maybe you don't have the strength to pray for an hour, but you can light a candle. You can say a single phrase, "Mother, walk with me." You can stay silent, knowing that she hears you. You can open your heart with a sincere tear, because there is no prayer more powerful than that which is born from pain, offered with love. Mary transforms tears into seeds, and each seed in its time blooms. Don't hesitate. Your pain will not be in vain if you deliver it into his hands. Have you ever felt that Mary has comforted you in your pain? Tell us your experience in the comments. Your testimony can ignite someone else's faith. Many times we look for answers in the noise of the world without realizing that the most powerful signals come in the form of whispers from the soul. They are not words spoken out loud, but subtle touches on the heart. This is how many of the testimonies begin that over time have become lights that guide others back to heaven. Because when heaven calls, something moves in the deepest part of the being. This is not a passing emotion or momentary consolation. It is a transformation that is born in the invisible and blossoms in the eternal. Mary, the mother who never stops looking at her children, continues to touch lives, guiding lost steps and bringing back those who thought there was no more hope. This call knows no borders, ages, or stories. It crosses cultures, hardened hearts, confused minds, and when it comes, nothing will be the same again. A young woman in Colombia says that in complete despair due to a terminal illness, she clung to an image of the Virgin that she found forgotten in a drawer. He didn't know how to pray. He didn't believe in miracles. He just felt that his life was fading little by little. One night, in the midst of physical pain and the deepest loneliness, he lifted the image with trembling hands and only said, "Mother, if you exist, do not leave me alone tonight." What happened next changed his life. A sweet warmth ran through his body, the anxiety disappeared, and for the first time in months he was able to sleep in peace. She was not healed instantly, but the next day she woke up with a strength that was not her own. He began to pray the rosary. He reconciled with his parents, and today, years later, he tells his testimony in hospitals, helping others not to lose faith. "I was never the same again," she says. "Mary taught me that although the illness continues, the soul can heal first." In Mexico, a 63-year-old man shared his experience at a Marian vigil. He had lived away from the faith for more than 4 decades. He went through vices, family breakups, emotional abandonment. One day, his granddaughter played him a video about Mary's apparitions. Something inside him broke. During the night, he dreamed of a woman dressed in light who told him, "You still have time. Come back." He didn't know if it was real or a product of his conscience, but when he woke up, he cried like he hadn't done since he was a child. He looked for a church, he confessed. Today he attends Mass every day, prays for his children, and says that although his past cannot be erased, his present is full of redemption. "I never imagined that a Marian image could open my heart so much," he confesses. "It was heaven that called me by my name when I had already resigned myself to silence." In Argentina, a young woman, a single mother, tells how her life was mired in depression and dark thoughts. She felt guilty, alone, exhausted by the demands of life. Walking down the street, aimlessly, he entered a chapel where a holy hour was being celebrated. He didn't know the prayers, but he sat in the back. Someone gave her a card with the image of Mary and a phrase, "I am with you, even when you think you are alone." That night, he cried for hours. He cried what was not cried. He gave up his pain. He asked for help. Today, she volunteers at a children's soup kitchen and says that her mission was born from that moment. "Maria reminded me that my life was not a mistake. She picked me up when I had already fallen." Each testimony is a spark that can ignite the faith of another, and although the stories are different, they all agree on something. They were not searched, they were found. Mary appears when we least expect it, in the darkest moment, and offers a bridge to the love of the Son, not with screams, but with tenderness, not with demands, but with comfort. She doesn't interrupt, she invites. He doesn't condemn, he embraces. Many who walk in the light today were once the furthest away. Many who pray the rosary today were previously the most unbelievers. Because grace has no human logic, it only has divine power. Heaven leans toward earth every time a soul takes a step toward conversion. In Peru, a young man who was on the verge of suicide, a victim of bullying and rejection, says that in his worst moment someone told him about the Virgin. "She also cries when you suffer," they told him. That phrase seemed absurd to him, but it stayed in his head. Days later, he found an image of the Virgin of Sorrows. He stared at her, and for the first time he felt that someone understood him without judging. That was the door. He started talking to her every night. I didn't use formulas, I just told him what I felt. His life did not change from one day to the next, but the void began to be filled with meaning. Today, he studies psychology to help others like him. "She accompanied me in silence," he says, "and it was that silence that saved me." There are also testimonies of impossible family reconciliations, where parents and children were reunited after years without speaking. In many of these cases, the prayer of the rosary in solitude, made by a grandmother, a mother, a daughter, was the channel that opened the door to forgiveness. Mary acts in the hidden. She does not impose, she transforms. It doesn't break in. Wait. And when the heart opens, its presence becomes evident, sometimes in a dream, other times in a sentence, sometimes in the simple act of lighting a candle. Because when faith is activated, even the simplest becomes sacred. Mary has said that her mission does not end as long as there is a single wounded soul. That's why it keeps appearing, keep calling, and it continues to act through ordinary people who decide to take a small step towards God. Because every step of faith, no matter how small, lights a flame in heaven. She reminds us that we are not alone, that there is a mother who never forgets, who continues on his knees for us, even when we have stopped praying. And when the soul returns, heaven celebrates. Because no story is lost, no wound is beyond grace, no path is so far that it cannot be reached by her maternal love. If you too have a meeting story, if you ever felt like Maria looked at you just when no one else did, tell it in the comments. Someone may be waiting for your testimony to rediscover their faith. This channel is not just another platform on the internet, it is a refuge. A spiritual place where weary souls find rest, where wounded hearts discover comfort, and where prayer has real power. It was created for those who, despite pain, continue to believe that heaven can intervene on earth. For those who have not lost hope, even when everything around them seems to have gone dark. Here it is not about religion as an institution, but about living faith, renewed confidence, walking with Mary in the middle of the desert. This channel is a response to so many silent cries, a candle lit in the middle of the night. We live in times when the human soul is constantly challenged. News that brings anguish, increasingly uncertain days, broken families, diseases that silence hope, fears that paralyze the will to continue. In the midst of that noise, there are those who are still searching for a different voice, not that of the world, but that of the Spirit. And that is precisely why we were born, to be that soft voice, that whisper that reminds us that we are not alone. This channel was designed for you, for your family, for your pain, to accompany you when everyone leaves, and to remind you that Mary, the mother of Jesus, has not stopped walking among us. When this space was created, it wasn't just about recording messages or sharing reflections. It was about opening a door. An invisible door, yes, but tremendously powerful. That which connects hearts to each other through prayer. This channel is a spiritual meeting point where people from different countries, cultures, and realities can come together in the same intention. Pray, believe, support each other. There are no borders here, only souls that recognize their need for divine love, only children who cry out to their mother. And in that cry, Mary responds. Always respond. Many people have come to this channel by chance. But we believe there are no coincidences when it comes to heaven. If you are reading these lines, if you made it this far, there is a greater purpose surrounding your life. Maybe you have felt that your prayer has not been heard, that your tears fall in silence. But Maria sees, Maria listens, Mary intercedes, and every prayer written in the comments, every name mentioned with faith, becomes a spiritual seed, a seed that she herself collects and presents to the heart of her Son. After the first 2,000 characters, it is the ideal time to invite you. If this mission resonates in your heart, subscribe to this channel, not to add numbers, but so that you become part of something sacred, a movement of faith that crosses screens and transforms into consolation, miracle, and restoration. Click subscribe and turn on notifications, because every new message we share is not just content. It is a sigh from heaven, a word that can change a life. And if you are already part, thank you for walking with us. You are an essential piece of this spiritual family. But there is more. This channel is also a constant invitation to inner action, to stop the noise of the world for a few minutes and look within, because faith is not just about receiving, but also about offering. And one of the greatest gifts we can offer is prayer for another. Therefore, we encourage you to write in the comments the name of someone you want to pray for. It could be a family member, a friend, someone you love, or even a person you had conflicts with. When you type that name, something is activated. Heaven sees it, and together as a community, we carry him at the heart of our prayers. There are testimonies that reach us every day, people who found peace by watching a video, families who were reconciled after months of silence, patients who received an unexpected answer. The channel doesn't do all that. God does it, through the prayer and faith of each one who joins. Therefore, this place is not ours, it's from Maria, and you, by joining, are also part of that work. Here it doesn't matter how much you know, how much you understand about theology, or how strong your faith is. You just have to believe. All you have to do is take one step, a small step towards love. The Virgin does not need crowds to act. A willing heart is enough. And on this channel, each video is an altar. A simple altar, but open to the power from above. Here we light invisible candles with every prayer, with every comment, with every whisper of faith. It doesn't matter if your faith is small. Maria knows how to multiply it. She knows how to take the little and work miracles. He has done it before and will continue to do it, because his love is eternal, his intercession is real, and his presence, although invisible, is felt. And that's why we invite you again. Don't walk alone. Do not carry your cross alone. Join this community that prays, that accompanies, that believes. Share this channel with someone who needs shelter. May you need a word, a hope, a spiritual hug, because you never know what chain can be broken with a simple prayer. And if you haven't already, subscribe today, not to fill out a statistic, but to begin to walk under the mantle of Mary. A mantle that knows no limits, that embraces with tenderness, and that leads to the heart of Jesus. Leave the name of the person you want to pray for this week in the comments right now. May this space be filled with living intentions, with beloved names, with sincere supplications. Because here, every name matters, every sentence has an echo, and every wounded heart can believe again. In the midst of a fast-paced world where people seek quick answers and immediate comfort, there is a sacred space where the thirst of the soul finds relief. This space is not physical, nor is it limited by walls or borders, but rather it opens in the hearts of those who still believe that the invisible can transform the visible. And it is precisely for those hearts, those that thirst for hope, for meaning, for a loving presence that never fails, that this special resource has been prepared. A spiritual gift, the free book, the tears of Mary and the miracles they cause. It is not simple devotional content. It is a profound invitation to rediscover the sacred, the maternal, the eternal. Throughout the centuries, thousands of faithful have felt Mary's silent call. Not a call of loud words, but of gestures that transcend logic, tears that flow from sacred images, faces that cry without explanation, testimonies of healings, reconciliations, and conversions that cannot be explained in science. What's behind these tears? Why does a heavenly mother cry? This book does not seek to give prefabricated answers, but rather to open the soul so that the right questions can be formulated from within. Whoever delves into this reading discovers that each tear of Mary is a language, a heavenly language that translates what human words cannot express. They are tears that intercede, that console, that awaken. They are silent signs that cry out for attention, for prayer, for conversion. This gift, then, is much more than a text. It is a door to a living experience, to an intimate encounter with the tenderness of God manifested in His mother. During the compilation of this content, stories from various parts of the world where apparitions of the Weeping Virgin have been documented were included. From Civitavecchia to Akita, from Naju to unknown places that have not yet been officially recognized, but that have touched the souls of entire communities. It is not just about recounting what happened, but about allowing each reader to listen with their hearts to what Mary has been saying with her tears. In addition to the stories, this book includes special prayers inspired by these manifestations. They are not magic formulas, but words born from the simple faith of thousands of people who, faced with a crying image, have bowed their knees and found solace. These prayers can be recited in the privacy of the home, in the family, or in the community, and become a bridge between earth and heaven. A bridge woven with faith, with humility, and with the sincere desire to return to true love. This resource also offers deep reflections for moments of silence, because many times we don't know what to say to God. Many times pain, anguish, or loneliness leave us speechless, and that is where Mary's tears speak for us. This book teaches how to remain in that silence, not as an absence, but as a presence full of meaning, a presence that comforts without words, that embraces without touching, that transforms without imposing. The gift offered to you today is born from a community of faith that has witnessed the transformative power of these tears. People who have felt their lives take an unexpected turn after encountering this devotion. Testimonies that do not seek to convince, but rather to share what has been experienced, because in sharing grace is also multiplied. And each page is impregnated with that desire that you too can experience what so many others have experienced. In this exclusive content, You will also find guided meditations that will allow you to enter the depth of each testimony. It is not necessary to have theological knowledge or previous mystical experiences. It is enough to have an open heart and the willingness to listen, because Mary does not speak only to the wise or the strong. She especially addresses the tired, the wounded, those who no longer know which path to take. This book is for them, for you. Accessing this free resource is very simple, and by doing so you won't just be receiving words. You will be allowing a current of love to enter your home, your story, your soul. Through each line, you will feel that you are not alone, that there is a mother who continues to intercede, who continues to cry for love, who continues to wait for you, and that each of her tears is a seed of hope for those who dare to believe. After the first few chapters, you'll understand why so many have said this book changed their lives, not because of the beauty of its language or the design of its pages, but because it is a channel, a means by which the invisible becomes present, a reminder that heaven continues to touch earth and that human pain does not go unnoticed by God. Mary's tears are not a myth. They are a reality that continues to flourish in willing hearts. If you have already felt that this topic touches something deep within you, if you have ever wondered why you feel so much when you see an image of the Virgin, if your tears have ever mixed with those of a crying statue, this book is for you. And if you've never had that experience but want to understand more, it's for you too, because what drives this gift is not the external experience, but the internal desire to return to what is essential. Download now The Tears of Mary and the Miracles They Cause, and allow yourself to receive, because many times we ask God without realizing that He has already sent us answers, and this may be one of them, a subtle response, wrapped in heavenly paper, written with ink of motherly love, a message that can only be read with an open soul. Have you ever had an experience with an image of Mary crying? Do you feel like this topic speaks directly to your heart? Tell us in the comments about your experience or what you felt when you heard about this gift. We want to read you. Your testimony may touch someone else's heart. Every soul that comes to this channel is not a coincidence. Every word that resonates in your heart, every prayer that comes from your mouth, every testimony you hear, all of this is part of a deep, subtle, and eternal calling. There is a silent urgency that dwells in messages from heaven, especially when they are accompanied by Mary's tears. They are not words thrown to the wind. They are keys that open invisible doors. They are whispers that cut through the noise of the world to touch a soul that perhaps, at that moment, was about to give up. Therefore, every time you decide to share a word of faith, a prayer video, or a message of hope, you are actively participating in the plan of salvation that God has prepared from eternity. What may seem like a simple gesture in your hands, in the hands of God, becomes a bridge between pain and redemption. Throughout history, great miracles did not begin with spectacular acts, but with small decisions made in faith. Mary said yes in the silence of a room, and that yes changed the history of humanity. Today, your yes can also change someone's story. You may not see it at the time, you may never know the name of the person who was touched by the message you shared, but in heaven there is no anonymity. Every act of love, every gesture of evangelization, every click you make to expand the light has an eternal echo. There are people who today walk in shadows, lost, wounded, disconnected from God and themselves. But a word can wake them up. A video can strike a chord that nothing else has touched. And that can start with you. It is not necessary to be a theologian, nor to have deep studies in the faith. It is enough to have a willing heart. When you decide to share a message that moved you, you are saying, I believe too. You are saying, it is worth continuing. You are raising a light in the middle of the desert so that others know that they are not alone. Mary teaches us that human power is not needed to transform lives. It takes obedience, tenderness, and perseverance. She did not shout in the squares, but with her gaze she raised the fallen. With her tears she touched the hardened, and with his silent presence, even today, he continues to whisper love to those who are on the brink of the abyss. There is incalculable value in every soul that looks back to heaven. That return, that conversion, that inner awakening is the greatest of miracles. It's not just about changing your mind. It is about a rebirth, and you can be part of that. You can be the channel through which that spark flows that ignites the fire of God's love in another person. How many times have we underestimated the power of what we share? How many times have we thought that it makes no difference? But in the logic of heaven, the small has weight, the hidden has value, the invisible is what sustains the visible, and every time you share, you are sowing the invisible. Imagine a woman alone in her room with tears that no one sees. He opens his phone searching for answers. At that moment, the message that you shared appears. He listens to it. Cry. She feels that God still sees her, that Maria still hugs her, and at that moment his heart gives out. You won't know. You may never find out. But heaven does know, because that soul, once lost, today walks towards the light, and it was thanks to you. Therefore, never underestimate the scope of your actions. Never doubt the good you do when you decide to share love. Mary's tears are not empty laments. They are drops of a love that never tires. They are signs that there is a heaven that still waits, that there is a God who still calls, that there is a mother who does not forget any of her children. When you share a message like this, you are also honoring those tears. You're saying his pain wasn't in vain. You are collecting those drops from heaven and putting them in the hearts that still beat without hope. There is no act more sacred than bringing comfort, and there is no better way to do it than by being a channel of light in this wounded world. Now think about all the people you know. Some have stopped praying, others have distanced themselves from the church. There are those who are at war with their faith. What if this message is the seed that will make something new sprout in them? What if the only thing missing is for someone like you to dare to share it? This channel was not created to entertain. It was created to wake up, to heal, to gather, to be a lighthouse in the midst of so many storms. Every time you share, you become a living part of that mission, and Maria knows it. Therefore, bless your hands, your intention, your silent yes that brings its light to another heart. The times we live in are not easy. Evil advances disguised as indifference, noise, comfort. But good also moves, and it moves in small gestures, in simple sentences, in videos that arrive just in time, in words that heal what seemed broken. This calling is not for others, it's for you. Maria has seen your heart. He has heard your silences. And today he invites you to be an instrument of his tenderness, to use your voice, your networks, your influence, no matter how small it may seem, to plant seeds of heaven. It doesn't matter how many people see. What matters is how many souls you will touch. This is not just another message. It is a final call, a reminder that you do have power, that your decision to share can save, that your faith can move mountains, even in the lives of others. Maria walks with you. It inspires you. It covers you. And hope that, like her, you can say, "Let it be done to me according to your word." Because when you say yes, many souls begin to return to heaven. And you? Have you already shared this word today? Who needs to hear this right now? Write us comments or name these people. Let's pray together.